2.22 Alcohol, Other Drugs, and Driving. 2.22.1 Alcohol and Driving. Drinking alcohol and then driving is very dangerous and a serious problem. People who drink alcohol are involved in traffic accidents resulting in over 20,000 deaths every year. Alcohol impairs muscle coordination, reaction time, depth perception, and night vision. It also affects the parts of the brain that control judgment and inhibition. For some people, one drink is all it takes to show signs of impairment. How alcohol works. Alcohol goes directly into the bloodstream and is carried to the brain. After passing through the brain, a small percentage is removed in urine, perspiration, and by breathing, while the rest is carried to the liver. The liver can only process 1/3 an ounce of alcohol per hour, which is considerably less than the alcohol in a standard drink. This is a fixed rate, so only time, not black coffee or a cold shower, will sober you up. If you have drinks faster than your body can get rid of them, you'll have more alcohol in your body and your driving will be more affected. The blood alcohol concentration, BAC, commonly measures the amount of alcohol in your body. See Figure 2.22. All of the following drinks contain the same amount of alcohol. A 12-ounce glass of 5% beer. A 5-ounce glass of 12% wine. A 1.5-ounce shot of 80-proof liquor. Figure 2.22. What determines blood alcohol concentration? BAC is determined by the amount of alcohol you drink. More alcohol means higher BAC. How fast you drink. Faster drinking means higher BAC, and your weight. A small person doesn't have to drink as much to reach the same BAC. Alcohol and the brain. Alcohol affects more and more of the brain as BAC builds up. The first part of the brain affected controls judgment and self-control. One of the bad things about this is it can keep drinkers from knowing they're getting drunk. And of course, good judgment and self-control are absolutely necessary for safe driving. As BAC continues to build up, muscle control, vision, and coordination are affected more and more. Effects on driving may include straddling lanes, quick, jerky starts, not signaling, failure to use lights, running stop signs and red lights, improper passing, see Figure 2.23. These effects mean increased chances of a crash and chances of losing your driver's license. Accident statistics show that the chance of a crash is much greater for drivers who have been drinking than for drivers who have not. How alcohol affects driving. All drivers are affected by drinking alcohol. Alcohol affects judgment, vision, coordination, and reaction time. It causes serious driving errors such as increased reaction time to hazards, driving too fast or too slow, driving in the wrong lane, running over the curb, weaving. Effects of increasing blood alcohol content. Blood alcohol content is the amount of alcohol in your blood recorded in milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood. Your BAC depends on the amount of blood, which increases with weight, and the amount of alcohol you consume over time. How fast you drink. The faster you drink, the higher your BAC, as the liver can only handle about 1 drink per hour. The rest builds up in your blood. BAC effects on body. Effects on driving condition. 0.02 mellow feeling, slight body warmth. Less inhibited. 0.05 noticeable relaxation. Less alert, less self-focused. Coordination impairment begins. 0.08 definite impairment in coordination and judgment. Drunk driving limit, impaired coordination and judgment. 0.10 asterisk reduction in reaction time. Noisy, possible embarrassing behavior, mood swings. 0.15 unable to drive. Impaired balance and movement, clearly drunk. 0.30 many lose consciousness. 0.40 most lose consciousness, some die. 0.50 breathing stops, many die. Asterisk BAC of 0.10 means that 0.1%, or 1/1000, of your total blood content is alcohol. 2.2 Other drugs. Besides alcohol, other legal and illegal drugs are being used more often. Laws prohibit possession or use of many drugs while on duty. They prohibit being under the influence of any controlled substance, amphetamines, including pep pills, uppers, and bennies, narcotics, or any other substance, which can make the driver unsafe. This could include a variety of prescription and over-the-counter drugs, cold medicines, which may make the driver drowsy or otherwise affect safe driving ability. However, possession and use of a drug given to a driver by a doctor is permitted if the doctor informs the driver that it will not affect safe driving ability. Pay attention to warning labels for legitimate drugs and medicines and to doctors' orders regarding possible effects. Stay away from illegal drugs. Don't use any drug that hides fatigue. The only cure for fatigue is rest. Alcohol can make the effects of other drugs much worse. The safest rule is don't mix drugs with driving at all. Use of drugs can lead to traffic accidents resulting in death, injury, and property damage. Furthermore, it can lead to arrest, fines, and jail sentences. It can also mean the end of a person's driving career. 2.2.3 Illness. Once in a while, you may become so ill that you cannot operate a motor vehicle safely. If this happens to you, you must not drive. However, in case of an emergency, you may drive to the nearest place where you can safely stop. 2.23 Hazardous Materials Rules for all commercial drivers. All drivers should know something about hazardous materials. You must be able to recognize hazardous cargo, and you must know whether or not you can haul it without having a hazardous materials endorsement on your CDL license. 2.23.1 What are hazardous materials? Hazardous materials are products that pose a risk to health, safety, and property during transportation. See Figure 2.24. Hazard Class Definitions. 1. Explosives, ammunition, dynamite, fireworks. 2. Gases, propane, oxygen, helium. 3. Flammable gasoline, acetone. 4. Flammable solids, matches, fuses. 5. Oxidizers, ammonium nitrate, hydrogen peroxide. 6. Poisons, pesticides, arsenic. 7. Radioactive uranium, plutonium. 8. Corrosives, hydrochloric acid, battery fluid. 9. Miscellaneous hazardous materials, formaldehyde, asbestos. Non-ORMD, other regulated material, domestic, hairspray or charcoal. Non-combustible liquids, fuel oils, lighter fluid. Figure 2.24. 2.23.2 Why are there rules? You must follow the many rules about transporting hazardous materials. The intent of the rules is to contain the product, communicate the risk, ensure safe drivers and equipment. To contain the product, many hazardous products can injure or kill on contact. To protect drivers and others from contact, the rules tell shippers how to package safely. Similar rules tell drivers how to load, transport, and unload bulk tanks. These are containment rules. To communicate the risk, the shipper uses a shipping paper and diamond-shaped hazard labels to warn dockworkers and drivers of the risk. After an accident or hazardous materials spill or leak, you may be injured and unable to communicate the hazards of the materials you are transporting. Firefighters and police can prevent or reduce the amount of damage or injury at the scene if they know what hazardous materials are being transported. Your life and the lives of others may depend on quickly locating the hazardous materials shipping papers. For that reason, you must identify shipping papers related to hazardous materials or keep them on top of other shipping papers. You must also keep shipping papers in a pouch on the driver's door, or in clear view within reach while driving, or on the driver's seat when out of the vehicle. 2.23.3 Lists of regulated products. Placards. Placards are used to warn others of hazardous materials. Placards are signs put on the outside of a vehicle that identify the hazard class of the cargo. A placarded vehicle must have at least 4 identical placards. They're put on the front, rear, and both sides. Identification numbers. Identification numbers are a 4-digit code used by first responders to identify hazardous materials. An identification number may be used to identify more than one chemical on shipping papers. The identification number will be preceded by the letters NH or UN. The U.S. DOT Emergency Response Guidebook, YARG, lists the chemicals and the identification numbers assigned to them. Not all vehicles carrying hazardous materials need to have placards. The rules about placards are given in Section 9 of this manual. You can drive a vehicle that carries hazardous materials if it does not require placards. If it requires placards, you cannot drive it unless your driver license has the hazardous materials endorsement. See Figure 2.25. The rules require all drivers of placarded vehicles to learn how to safely load and transport hazardous products. They must have a commercial driver license with the hazardous materials endorsement. To get the required endorsement, you must pass a written test on material found in Section 9 of this manual. A tank endorsement is required for any commercial vehicle that is designed to transport any liquid or gaseous materials in a tank or tanks having an individual rated capacity of more than 119 gallons and an aggregate capacity of 1,000 gallons or more that is either permanently or temporarily attached to the vehicle or chassis. The liquid or gas does not have to be a hazardous material. Drivers who need the hazardous materials endorsement must learn the placard rules. If you do not know if your vehicle needs placards, ask your employer. Never drive a vehicle needing placards unless you have the hazardous materials endorsement.
To do so is a crime.
When stopped, you will be cited, and you will not be allowed to drive your truck. It will cost you time and money. A failure to placard when needed may risk your life and others if you have an accident. Emergency help will not know of your hazardous cargo. Hazardous materials drivers must also know which products they can load together and which they cannot. These rules are also in Section 9. Before loading a truck with more than one type of product, you must know if it is safe to load them together. If you do not know, ask your employer and consult the regulations. Subsections 2.22 and 2.23 test your knowledge. 1. Common medicines for colds can make you sleepy. True or false? 2. Coffee and a little fresh air will help a drinker sober up. True or false? 3. What is a hazardous materials placard? 4. Why are placards used? These questions may be on the test. If you can't answer them all, reread subsections 2.22 and 2.23.